New details have come forward from Yas Island, Abu Dhabi, specifically Ferrari World. They'll be building a world record-breaking roller coaster, but we don't know what it is quite yet.
We don't, but what we do know is it is not one world record, it is 4 of them.
Yeah, so this comes forward from the CEO of Moral. They just did a big earnings report about 2024. They said they received over 38 million visitors in 2024, and so as part of this report talking about the various numbers, they gave some hints as to what you can expect in the future, and they said a significant coaster is coming to Ferrari World, and that's what we want to speculate on today.
Yeah, so it's not a secret that over there in the Middle East, a very large state-of-the-art theme park is being built in Saudi Arabia. So, naturally, it's time to compete a little bit.
Yeah, Yas Island is ramping up, and clearly they have the numbers to justify it. They said that this was a 10% increase in performance compared to 2023. They said that like the hotels in the area had 90% occupancy on average.
Which is crazy to me.
Yeah, because like when we went, the crowds were fine. Like, they weren't as bad as the ones that we had in Dubai that were like ghost towns.
Yeah.
But it seems like people do love vacationing in Abu Dhabi. They have 3 theme parks and 1 water park. The most recent addition was SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, which was just like unbelievable. The amount of money that they pour into these properties is ridiculous.
It absolutely is. So, we're going to talk about a world record breaking ride. I think we need to rule some pretty major stuff off right off the bat. I mentioned Six Flags Qiddiya. It's no secret that they are getting the world's tallest, fastest, and longest roller coaster at this point in Falcon's Flight. Manufactured by Intamin, which happens to be the manufacturer that Ferrari World works with the most.
Yeah, TurboTrack, Formula Rosa, Flying Aces, these are all Intamin products. And even over at SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, again, these are all operated by Moral, the same people that run Ferrari World. Warner Brothers, they have an Intamin coaster. So that seems to be like their manufacturer of choice. But because they're working at Six Flags Qiddiya, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be beating their records,
No, and I think it's just kind of plain silly to expect that anyone's going to go taller than 600 and whatever it is feet, or faster than they're going over there, or longer. Like, it's just not feasible. And if you just look at the land that's open, which we will talk about, it's not possible. So you have to rule out those major records right off the bat. If you want me to be quite honest, I don't know that we're going to see those records broken in our lifetime. I don't know. Yeah. I doubt it, though.
Falcon's Flight is quite the addition. And this is also coming from the park that currently has what is the world's fastest roller coaster, Formula Rosa. So they already have some record breakers in this park. But the term record breaker is kind of lost its pizzazz over the years because so many parks have really watered this down with grasping at straws for what record can we have. The most recent one that comes to my mind is Rapterra at King's Dominion is North America's longest launched wing coaster. Great. All right, beats out Thunderbird. There's one other ride there that they can compete with. So it's like, it just gets very, very specific.
Or SeaWorld with Icebreaker. It's like the tallest vertical spike at a marine park.
Yeah, like it's, so the term record breaker
it's loose.
Is very loose. And so that means that we really have quite the scope of options here in terms of what records we could be looking at. I mean, it could be the first Ferrari-themed roller coaster of this type. It could be a first of its kind. Or it could be something as specific as like the tallest, fastest, longest single rail coaster. It could be pretty much anything. So we're going to try and use our deductive reasoning to narrow the field down a little bit. So we have at least a few more realistic options.
Yeah, well, it's not going to be the fastest roller coaster themed to Ferrari because they already have Formula Rosa.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the tallest because Red Force exists.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not going to be either one of those.
Yeah, so I think what we should do first is take a look at Intamin's catalog because that seems like the most likely manufacturer. We'll discuss some others in the a little bit later because they have worked with other major roller coaster companies before, but Intamin seems
dynamic.
So let's start with one coaster type that I just mentioned. That is the single rail coaster. Intamin does have an inline seating style attraction. We have that over at Wallaby Run Alps with Mahuka. Or Sydney, Australia has Big Dipper. So we could be seeing some sort of single rail coaster, and I imagine you could theme up each of the ride cars to be different Ferraris.
Yeah.
So it's a neat idea. If they want to beat some stats, they would have to beat out RMC though, because they have all the records when it comes to single rail coasters.
Intamin's not doing super high thrill single rail coasters. They've been kind of family thrill-ish.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything that's rock your socks off kind of crazy.
Right.
And if you look at Ferrari World's record, especially if they're going outdoors, which is more than likely what's going to happen, it's going to be big. So in theory, they could build something that is more on the scale of like Jersey Devil or Wonder Woman Flight of Courage and make it big.
But that would mean they would have to switch over to a lift hill. Right now, their single rail coasters are a tire-driven launch system. Yes. So that's why it kind of rides the line of family thrill. Like if they want to go for the height record, they would have to beat Wonder Woman Flight of Courage, which is 131 feet tall. And that, along with Jersey Devil, have the speed record of 58 miles per hour. So that could be a difficult one to go after. Like to put that in perspective, if they want to venture away from those records and do something completely different, if they want to beat like most inversions on a single rail coaster, Yoy has 6.
That's a lot.
So single rail coaster could be a tough one to go for 4 different records.
It would be. And you mentioned inversions, and I think that's something worth talking about, because as it stands right now, we have Flying Aces, which has the one random inversion thrown in. And then you have 2 inversions, on Mission Ferrari. And TurboTrack doesn't have any. Formula Rossa doesn't have any. The Maurer doesn't have any.
They need inversions.
So to me, the most logical choice would be doing something that goes upside down a bunch.
Yeah, and Ferrari World really is their thrill park there on Yas Island. Like, roller coasters are their bread and butter. That's what they're known for. And so, like, they absolutely could go the family thrill route, but my gut says, like, when they say a significant coaster is coming, I feel like it's gonna be thrill.
You know, and I have to shout out the Middle East because they're so freaking behind on the Coaster Wars thing. Right? Like, we're here in America, we're all like, okay, we're going to build the most state-of-the-art family coaster. Or the baddest one out there. And they're like, yeah, we're still building big stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to continue this Coaster Wars thing just amongst ourselves.
They got the money for it.
For that, we thank you.
Yeah. Something that Ferrari World also needs is a water attraction. They actually used to have a water ride where Mission Ferrari currently is. And so right now, there is not a single water ride in the park. So I don't think it's that far-fetched to say that maybe they are considering a water coaster.
I think that there's something that needs to be considered here, just overall, not necessarily just about water coasters. It is horribly hot in this part of the world. Like, even in the winter, it's still hot.
Yeah.
You know, obviously at night it can get chilly, but most of the time it's hot. So that's why all of the coasters that go outdoors are launch coasters.
Or if you're Flying Aces, fast lift hill.
Basically a launch coaster. Yeah, like you can't have a slow climb to the top of something. So if it's going to be tall, it has to have a launch.
Yeah.
You can't just sit on a lift hill for 45 seconds when it's over 100 degrees out. You just can't.
Right. No, I agree. I mean,
even if it was a water coaster, you would be dead by the time you got to the top.
Right. So that makes me think if they were to go that approach, maybe we could see like an elevator lift system like what you have with Divertical at Mirabilandia or Speed at Energylandia.
Yeah,
something like that could work. Right now, I believe the tallest water coaster is one of those. It's 164 feet tall. So, yeah, tall ride, but it still wouldn't be the tallest thing in the park. Right now, Flying Aces is their tallest roller coaster.
Yeah, and like, there's a place for water activities. Like, this is all right next to Yas Water World, which we haven't been to yet. We'll get there eventually. But, you have to think about, like, if people are getting soaking wet on this water coaster, they are going back inside.
Yeah.
Where there's nothing that can dry anything up.
Yeah, exactly. So that does make me think that maybe this won't be a water coaster. Maybe they'll leave the water attractions to Yas Water World. It's possible.
And like, that's not to say you can't have an indoor water ride. I mean, we've seen them before. We literally have done the log flume at Nick Universe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, like, it can happen. It's just water coasters can get you really soaked.
Yeah, it's just an extra thing that you have to think about.
Yeah.
One ride type that is up and coming with Intamin is their vertical launch coaster. So start with a launch that would solve the outdoor issue, and that would give them a very different experience from everything else. And these layouts tend to be inversion focused. Right now, there is one already in the UAE with the Storm coaster that is completely indoors, and we know of another one going to Russia, and that is going to be the records that they would have to break. It is currently an off-the-shelf model, so it remains to be seen whether this would be truly custom or not if they went that direction, but I think that is a solid option. Here's a style of ride that they don't have anything of. An inverted coaster.
Yeah, this one's a tough one again because of the lift hill issue.
Right. They could go launch. We have seen some launched inverted coasters from Intamin. Dueling Dragons over in China has a sit-down side and an inverted side. And
I would love to
that's
see
launched.
one of those.
That'd be freaking cool. Right
They already
now,
have a dueling coaster, though.
they do, right? Yeah. So I'm kind of ruling out. I feel like they wouldn't go dueling coaster with whatever this is. Right now, I believe their tallest inverted coaster is Legendary Twin Dragon over in China. This is actually an impulse coaster, 230 feet tall, 74 miles per hour. So again, some ambitious records to break, but. Man, an inverted coaster at Ferrari World, that could be pretty cool.
It would be, but and you can't rule out the fact that there's other companies that do inverts. It's just less likely. Like I don't know. I don't really see them working with B&M right now.
I really don't see them working with B&M. There's not a single B&M in the Middle East.
No, and like Gerstlauer does inverts. They like store them in Norway, which we haven't done yet, but we did get to check it out.
It looks cool.
We've heard good things. Vekoma also does inverts with like the STC model.
Yep. So there's just a lot to think about, but I feel like that would be a nice change of pace from the other attractions in Ferrari World.
Absolutely.
Here's a ride type that you brought up, and this one I feel like opens up a can of worms.
It does.
And that is the style of attraction that's coming with Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift at Universal Hollywood.
So the reason that I said this is because for theming wise, it makes a ton of sense because this is a car-themed park. And this is a car-themed ride. It is a drifting, spinning coaster.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot you could do with that. Now you can drift in a Ferrari, like, around these turns. It would be pretty cool.
The problem is, we don't know this because we don't work for Universal or we're not lawyers. But there's a very good chance that the patent is through Universal, where it is owned, like the technology behind it is owned by Universal. We don't know that, though. It's like kind of akin to like Vekoma couldn't build Guardians at a Six Flags park.
Exactly.
If they wanted to.
So
you can't.
We could be seeing this technology brought over to Universal Studios Florida as a Rip Ride Rocket replacement. That's a top rumor. But we might not be able to see another ride of this style over in the Middle East. Maybe it's allowed because it's so far away that maybe the patent is only for like North America or something. If that is the case, maybe,
or within like a certain distance from a Universal park.
Right. Now, the other thing that makes this a little difficult is there is a ride that has similar technology but is used in a different way.
You're not going to say that weird little drifting coaster in the mall.
No. I was actually thinking of Uncharted at Portaventura.
Yeah.
Because those vehicles do rotate you around, but it's on a much tamer sense. It's really for an indoor coaster that, has half the speed. But doesn't go upside down.
But does Intamin own that? Like, is that proprietary to them, that technology then, to be able to do that?
Is it different enough from Fast and Furious? Like, can they use that technology here, but not here? I don't know the logistics of this.
Could you imagine if they built one of those out there, made it bigger and faster and longer than the one going to Hollywood?
Yeah.
And the potential one coming to Orlando? That'd be crazy.
That would be very cool.
That would be my, like, if I had to pick, like, if I was in charge and there were no patent laws that were an issue, like, that's what I would pick.
Yeah. The last ride model from Intamin that really kind of got my attention, and this one I feel like I have a few concerns about, but it's not because of the ride model. I'm talking about the motorbike coaster. Mainly because Ferrari is for cars, not really motorcycles.
Yeah, well they had apparently built some motorcycle back in the 90s. It's not like something that they do, but it's like, I don't know, they like stuff that goes fast. Vroom vroom. Right,
so like maybe they could say, hey, we're doing a motorcycle ride, but I don't know that they would. I just don't know. But, I mean, in terms of records, Haggard's right now is the longest motorbike coaster at over 5,000 feet long. Yukon Quad is the fastest at 56 miles per hour. So they could go with some, motorcycle, quad bike kind of experience, but I think theming would be the main challenge there. There's one ride model that I know some people are immediately going to bring up because this place has a lot of money, and in theory, maybe they could do it, but I'm just going to rule it out. I don't think they're going to do a Giga Coaster.
No, it would be too similar, like, because it would have, the speed, obviously not the same speed. It would have a lot of speed and power the way Formula Rossa does, and it would have, like, the scale like Flying Aces.
Yeah.
So it would just be too similar.
I just don't see them doing that. And also, Giga Coasters require a lot of land, which brings us to location. So a quick visit to Google Earth. I found 4 spots that I think you could be seeing a roller coaster. And I think I'll go through these in terms of likeliness. I'll start with what I think is the least likely. So at the front of this Ferrari logo, there's a very narrow plot of land. We measured it out. It's about 600 feet long, 350 feet wide. So the main reason why I don't think this is going to happen is I think if you really wanted to put a coaster, it would have to be very compact. I'm imagining like some sort of Skyrocket 2-esque design. And I don't think they're going to do that.
God bless technology, man.
Yeah.
That we could just, like, spy it. Like, it has brought being an enthusiast to, like, a new level of, like, being creepy about
Oh,
it.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
So, to the side of Formula Rosa, there is a narrow plot of land, over 1,000 feet long, but it's under 300 feet wide. So the only scenario where this would really work is if the coaster had an elongated layout. So, not impossible, but there are larger spaces around this Ferrari logo. To the next, you have to the side of Flying Aces. There's this paved space that I don't know exactly what the land is being used for, but right now there's nothing significant. It's over 1,000 feet long and about 415 feet wide at its widest point. So that's a sizable area. No matter what they do, if they build an outdoor coaster, they'd probably have to build an extension for the station stuff. We've actually seen that with Flying Aces. You can see a separate building that they constructed for that space in order to attach to the larger Ferrari structure.
Yeah, and that actually brought up, that leads me to a point that I kind of brought up, like, in passing when we were talking about this. And, like, it's not something that I think is super likely, but it's not impossible that they could go with, like, an indoor coaster, like, that is not in the main theme park, that is, like, you have to exit it. You know what I mean? Like,
right, like they build a show building outside of the Ferrari logo.
Yeah, like it would, maybe it would mess with the cool aerial view that you can get. They really like that. But, if you want to be doing a bunch of, like, world record breaking, you could do the tallest, fastest something indoors.
Yeah. You could. My gut
It'd be
says
nice for the heat.
Yeah, that's fair. My gut says I think it's going to be an outdoor coaster. But, we'll see.
It's just worth mentioning. I think it's silly to completely rule that out.
Right. And then the biggest plot of land is in between Flying Aces and GT Challenge. So we're looking at about 453 feet wide at its widest point, and its longest point is over 1,000 feet long. So basically, the main way that you'd be able to make this work is, again, if you built, like, some sort of extension that you could have the layout kind of hopping over. I mean, honestly, if you want to have the layout hop over GT Challenge, you could. That ride stays very low to the ground. So, I mean, that could be kind of a cool interaction moment if they really want to, but I feel like that space, there's a lot of possibilities there. It would just be about finding a suitable entrance for this.
Absolutely. And we talked a lot about Intamin, and it's clearly not, like, set in stone that it's going to be Intamin.
Yeah.
That's just what we're feeling is most likely because of their history. But over on Yas Island, they have worked with other manufacturers. It's worth mentioning.
Sure. So they have worked with Vekoma before. Bandit Bomber at Yas Water World was a Vekoma coaster. If I could pick any Vekoma coaster for Yas Island, I would absolutely go with a flying coaster.
Just not at this park.
Yeah, a flying coaster at Ferrari World, I just don't know how you could make that work with the theme. Unless they went with something a little bit, like, out there. Like, Flying Aces, for instance, has a World War II, like, plane theme.
Because that's where they got there's like, an origin story.
Yes, there is. So
that's why.
They tied it in. So, like, if you could tie it into a flying experience, then they could make it work. And that would be very thrilling.
I personally would, like, stick that over at Warner Brothers because they have, like, DC and now they're going to have Harry Potter. Makes more sense.
And we'll talk about Warner Brothers at the end of this video because they did give a little bit of hint as to their future. But that would be super cool. Another one that came to mind is a spinning coaster. This would primarily be, I feel like if they went into this, it'd have to be Mach.
Oh, God. That would be awesome. If they were like, we're going to destroy Ride to Happiness's records.
Yeah,
I would cry.
I mean, the only thing is then if Great Venture is going for a Mach spinner that breaks all sorts of records, then
that's like a shuttle.
Would that interfere? Yeah, they'd have to go tallest fastest full circuit spinning coaster. I don't know, but
that's the thing. That's how records are now.
It really is.
You can just throw like a couple extra words in and you spice it up a little bit, and suddenly it's your record.
Yeah, Ride to Happiness is 108 feet tall and 56 miles per hour. So those records are very beatable. I feel like.
Another thing talking about Vekoma, which, like, in theory would be really, really cool, but it's, like, super unlikely because of Qiddiya, would be a tilt coaster.
Yeah, I just don't know that they would do that with... I mean, I know that, like, it's not
That'd be a huge
next door
to Qiddiya.
Yeah, you'd have to fly over there, and the Qiddiya tilt coaster will be a genuine record breaker. That thing's over 200 feet tall. It looks insane.
It does.
Speaking of Saudi, not at Six Flags Qiddiya, but they are getting an Axis coaster over in Riyadh. It's a smaller indoor one. What if Yas Island decided to get a full-scale Axis coaster?
Yeah, because it really wouldn't be hard to break a record with that.
No, it'd be very doable.
Anyone,
and frankly, depending on how they play their cards, they could say it's a first of its kind. I mean, if they'd have to work fast in order to beat the one that's opening up in Riyadh, but that is also opening with a whole park. So, like, if the park is delayed, therefore so is the coaster.
And on that one's small. And, you know, if we're going to talk about S&S, it would be foolish not to mention their big bad fourth dimension coasters.
Yeah,
That's a dream.
That's a pipe dream. That's like,
not going to happen.
I don't see it, but man, that'd be cool. I don't think it'll happen, though.
No, I don't either. I'm just looking forward to more white track.
Oh, it will have white track. It definitely will.
Just a mess of white track. It's like you can't even tell what's what.
Yeah. So those are some of the things that occurred to us for Ferrari World. They did say that there'll be some sort of announcement soon. So I take that as like sometime this year, maybe. And, you know, we could realistically see, I would say at the earliest, maybe they break ground later this year. And then maybe it opens in a couple years from now. So I would say like earliest opening 2027, but probably more likely maybe 28. It just depends, really. But other than that, I mean, I'm super excited that this park is getting something that is going to be that significant.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had to go back either way because we sort of missed a big one.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't either.
It's okay. Get more excuses to go back.
I don't hate that.
Speaking of more excuses, they did give us a little hint as to what's to come with Warner Brothers Abu Dhabi. We know that they're getting a Harry Potter expansion. That's been known for a couple of years. But they did say, in addition to that, they'll be expanding its footprint in the coming years with new DC attractions, which will be significant attractions, as well as 2 additional rides. We don't know what theme that would have, but that means in addition to the Harry Potter expansion, at least 4 other rides for that park, which is fantastic because that place is so cool, and I can't wait to see what they come up with. I think if they do go with a roller coaster for them, they should go with an outdoor coaster because all of the other Yas Island parks have an outdoor coaster.
And
Warner Brothers,
a thrill coaster.
Yeah, Warner Brothers needs a thrill coaster, and then you put it outside. I think that you could do something really cool.
Unless they wanted to like theme it up like big time and keep it indoors.
Yeah, my favorite theory that people came up with is they should do a Dune Land because it's Warner Brothers and it's just sand. They don't have to do anything. It's already there.
It's the sandworm coaster.
Let us know down in the comments below, what do you think should be coming to Ferrari World Abu Dhabi? What could this mysterious 4 times record-breaking attraction be? Will they be significant records? Will it be something stupid?
Please, God, no.
Let's hope for the best. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.